Hello, good afternoon. My name is Julius Banwo. I'm a user researcher, and I'm making this presentation on behalf of Join Momentum. Um, I'll be presenting on one of my favorite topics, which is user experience research. However, I'm going to deviate and pick on something quite specific, which is close to my heart, and that will be what I will call internal biases. In my previous podcast, I've spoken about unconscious bias. I'll touch a bit on that, but that's not the main topic for today. It's going to be internal biases faced by user experience researchers. Without much ado, I would say, come with me. I'll start with my table of contents, which is what I'm going to talk about, what we're going to be covering in this podcast this afternoon. And the first is, what is user experience research? However, this is because this could be listened to by anyone, someone who's interested in coming into this field. So I'll try and break down what UX research is, and how it is conducted, what is the bias, the different types of bias, and then I'll now zero in on the particular bias I want to narrow down and touch upon, which is internal biases against the user experience researcher. And so you've seen what I'll be covering. I'll go to my first topic, which would be, what is user experience research? So I'll go by various definitions which I have picked, and not in any particular order. Um, the first one says UX research is the systematic study of target users and their requirements to add realistic content and insights to design processes. UX researchers adopt various methods to uncover problems and design opportunities. This reveals valuable information which can be fed into design processes. Second one says user experience research is the practice of studying user interactions to help with the design of people, first products, and experiences. That's defined by user testing. And the third one was UX research encompasses a variety of investigative methods used to add context and insight to the design process. UX research has two parts: gathering data and synthesizing that data in order to improve usability, as defined by UX book. I picked all these definitions from authorities in user experience research. So, however, that is just what is user research. The best thing to explain it, which you'll see in my next slide, is how is it conducted. It says, how is user experience research conducted? Methods fall under three main parts. The last presentation I did, I said it fell under two parts. However, user experience is a growing field. Before, you would hear it's quantitative, or it falls under quantitative or qualitative. However, now there's quantitative, there is qualitative, and there's also the mixed method, which is from both, which means you can actually go into research using the qualitative, which is the why people use something, why or how they interact with it. The quantitative is measured in the number of people that use the thing, number of people that interact, how many successfully use it. And then you can now use the mixed method, which is a bit of the numerical, which is the numbers, and the whys and the how, which is the reasons, a mix of both, which makes it the third one, which is the what we call the mixed methods, which mixes the quantitative, and the qual, which is qualitative. User researchers collect valuable information that helps with design to keep it more informed. Contextual users are center-mannered, though various techniques such as interviews, unmoderated A/B testing, which is comparative testing, comparing A and B, surveys and questionnaires, sorting, usability testing, guerrilla testing, pre-testing, and content analysis are all various types of techniques that can be used while conducting user experience research. There's some of it that will cross border when I'm talking about the internal, when I'm talking about biases. So hopefully we'll get there. We'll have enough time and we'll get there. So I'll move to my um, third slide, which is I'm talking about internal biases. However, let's break it down to a layperson's level. What's a bias? When I looked it up in the dictionary, it says a bias is favoring or having prejudice against something based on limited information. Biases can seriously impact your user research and negatively influence the design of your final product. We all have biases and they are often unconscious because if in our biases, we might not even know we're biased. We might just think, oh, this is how I do my thing. And that might be a bias due to upbringing or societal exposures, the community, and various different things and norms as well. So this is just a bias in any field of study. However, we're now going to narrow it down to what's a bias in the kinds of biases in user experience research. It's a different types of biases in user experience research. I think I named about 8 or 9 here. However, this is not an exhaustive list. This is not the end of it. But I just try and look for what I'll call the common biases that come up. And when we're looking at them, I'll say confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is when data is analyzed and interpreted to confirm a hypothesis. In user experience research, maybe there's always something like a hypothesis or proof of concept. So if we prepare data, maybe we're like, okay, we want to know how many people use this thing. And then when I'm going to bring data of all the people that use it, not talking of the people that are not using it, that's a confirmation bias. We're just trying to confirm our hypothesis. So we will look at it like this. The confirmation bias is when data is analyzed and interpreted to confirm hypothesis and expectation. It is one of the most detrimental biases found in user research. A researcher's role is to be a source of truth, not to tilt in any direction, but even finding contradictions to what they're expecting. Because when you're coming to user research, there's what we call assumptions. We come with certain assumptions. It's not in all cases that we have to prepare data to prove those assumptions. In some cases, the data we will get out of it will disprove those assumptions. So we shouldn't be trying to get data only to prove it, which is like we're just trying to confirm all the assumptions. Oh, we said it's going to be green and it is green. We said, we have to be what we call independent, with no bias. The second one, which is the Hawthorne effect. The Hawthorne effect occurs when participants are aware they are being observed. And for that reason, they either deviate or act in a particular way that they think they should be acting. So when you say, while you're doing maybe user research and you're talking to the participants and you say, okay, we'll just be watching you, how do you, and they're like, in their mind, the Hawthorne effect is when the participant thinks, oh, maybe I should be pressing the green button more. So they keep pressing the green button. However, in real life, they probably wouldn't even press the green button. So it's like trying to, because they're aware that you're there, they're like, oh, what would the researcher be expecting from us? So they're trying to do what they think you want them to do rather than what they would do. All these are forms of unconscious biases. But because I've done a talk on unconscious bias, I just wanted to use this to kind of break it down so that when we're talking of internal biases, you would see how they're kind of all interrelated. However, internal biases is kind of full on. The next one will be implicit bias. And implicit bias is when our stereotypes, our attitudes, influences how we behave. And what we're talking about, or how we even perceive others, maybe based on religion, maybe based on sect, we think, oh, these people would do this way. And it is a very difficult form of bias to recognize because it has become part and parcel of maybe that culture, or maybe that person doing the research thinking, oh, this is how albinos would eat a particular thing because of the sun, or this is how they would do things. It's kind of a preconceived idea before it even happens. And then leading language. When we're looking at leading language bias, it's when the question is asked or use certain words or terminology that provide a hint for the particular response or behavior. Example is during user research, asking a participant, how well do you use this program, or how much, or how much do you use this program? It's more like he already said he uses it. So instead of him saying, I don't use it at all, because he already said, how much do you use it? He'll probably say, I use it this number of times, just because your question is leading towards that. To avoid this kind of leading language bias is the ability to ask neutral questions. Even if they're going to be yes or no questions, they have to be neutral, not tilting in any particular direction. I think I must have jumped over the expectancy bias, which is also a common known to observe bias in similar to Hawthorne effects, in that the research participant may change their behavior to please the researcher or provide answers they think the researcher wants to know. And then recall bias, which is when you asking questions based on, I think this is even more in terms of diary studies, is when you're asking questions during research based on historical context, that the recall, people's ability to remember certain things might be not as accurate. So they'll probably just try and remember what they think you want to know, not necessarily what it is. So it is what they think you want to know might be the person that just come to my head, because you're asking a historical fact, a historical context question. Something that's happened maybe way in the past or not in the recent future. So that's that. And another one which I stumbled on in my study is congruence bias. This happens when a person tests a hypothesis only through direct testing rather than testing through possible alternative hypotheses. In testing, this will be called the happy path. For example, you're trying to do user research on people using a car, and then all the questions are in line of, you start the car, it starts, you put it in gear, it drives, you drive where you're going, you come back and everything, and then that's where it ends. But you're not trying alternatives. What happens if it didn't start? Or while you're driving, it broke down. So it's like a happy path congruence. You're just trying to confirm that this path goes. However, there's so many other constraints that can happen that you're not considering. And then there's another one which is common. We see it each and every day. Is the social desirability bias. Is a bias which is tendency for a person to over-report social desirable characteristics or behavior. More like when we're on social media, most of us, I want to believe, would have various social media handle. We see people with pictures looking all flash and everything, so perfect. However, that is what we will call social desirable path, because that's putting things in your face. Although with this kind of happy pictures, everything active, everything is happening, it puts others under pressure because they think, oh, this is how these people's lives are. Now, they do have sad moments, but they just don't bring it up. You understand? So that is where those are the kind of biases that when you're doing user research, if, for example, you're looking at, let's go and look at their post. Their post will always be socially desirable because they won't say, oh, I had a flat tire. No, they're just going to tell you good pictures, dressed nice, went out, lovely nightclub. They're not going to tell you the day they went out, they fell in the mud and all that. You won't see those pictures there. So if you follow the research based on certain, from what you see, some will present to you what they think is socially desirable. And I'm now going to move to internal bias, which is what I'm really trying to talk about here. With internal bias, it is, I would say, because that I need to do a lot of what's it called, reading about, breaking down of this one. Internal biases are raised within the organization that is employing or seeking the services of the user experience researcher. They are the ones employing, in most cases, 9 out of 10 times, it is biases that is faced by the UX researcher within the team. And as simple as there are things that they can just be dropped, but they are biases. And I'll just pick about 8 of them. There are a lot more. There are very salient ones that are not so easy to recognize. However, there are some that they can even drop it in a form of banter, form of joke, and they are biases. Example, I'll give you one. Look, say the user will just have to learn how to use it. Indirectly, what are we saying here? That we're not going to build. What we're saying when we say the user just learn how to use it, is what we're trying to say by just this statement alone is that the user research insights and what you've gained from the research does not necessarily influence the design. They will just have to use it the way we are building it. We're not going to update, we're not going to run a patch, we're not going to build a version 2 just because this is how they use it. No, we're going to make them use it the way we want them to use it, not the way they're using it. That's one. Second is, maybe we can say we can just use an intercept survey. An intercept survey is a survey talking about something like, not necessarily this. It might even be from a competitor. Somebody has done a survey about this before. So why can't we just use this one? We don't really need to. However, persona is my differ. Functionality is my differ. Usability might differ. Why people come to yours and not to theirs? To use your system and not another one might differ. So these are the kind of things that using an intercept survey will not solve. However, the business can say, use an intercept because they think you're going to waste time trying to get participants sending surveys out and having all your consent forms. That's long. Let's just pick one survey that has been done. That's an internal survey. You see that all this I'm talking about are within your team. It can even, and in most cases, it can come from project sponsor, senior stakeholders, developers. You understand? So that's, for example, the second one. The third one is when you say, we just have to deliver something. The business tells you, you're talking about, oh, this is my plan. They say, we just have to deliver something. What does that mean? It might sound like, okay, just have to deliver something. You think, oh, it's about the timeline. Yes, it is about the timeline. They're not bothered about what you're going to. So whether your research comes back with something or nothing, they're not really bothered. You just have to deliver something. You'll be catching up. They're not going to stop the production or the delivery for you. We must just deliver anything, and they will come and be fixing it. Someone will say, we'll come and fix it later. However, remember that we're in a time where attention spans are quite limited. You don't have a second chance to make a first impression. What if what you delivered is a total failure? You've lost those customers because they've gone elsewhere. That's 3. Number 4, you hear this in most, I don't let me now use my own prejudice, but some big companies will tell you, we've gone without research for years. What would research do for us? They've employed you, but they're just trying to let you know that what you want to do is not binding to us, because we have gone without research for years, and we've been successful, because they're looking at the numbers of the customers they have. They don't know the numbers of the customers they have lost. So in their mind, we are successful. Or like the 5th one, they'll say, okay, we'll update it in the next batch. Let's just do something now. Like I said, just relating to the previous one I said, number 3 or something. Let's just do anything now. And then you see, when you're what the users now want, we'll put it in the design and drop it in next code for phase 2. But just like I said, the previous one, the customers you lose in phase 1, how do you get them back? In a fast-paced global world where people don't have the time to come back. Once they go, they've gone. Another word is when they say, oh, business and development team have already agreed on everything. But the BAs, the project sponsor, stakeholder, all the senior stakeholders, the developer said, okay, we can deliver, we can do this, we can do that. And then when it out, they've already agreed on everything. This is what the business analyst said, we're going to, for the user requirement document, this is what they are going to build, this one's indirectly. Your UX research cannot come and influence this particular design, because we've already decided way ahead. Indirectly, at times it might be that it's used for something entirely different, but they'll just say, oh, just come, we have a user researcher in the house. When you have things like that, it kills the morale of user experience researcher, and also it also means you're just there like a rubber stamp, not necessarily like when they say, oh, we've already agreed on it, which means we know what we're going to deliver, but you're just here. That's an internal bias. And then, for example, 7th or 8th one would say, we can say things like, the project sponsor, it could be the project sponsor, it could be a senior stakeholder, it could be a director, it could be, we just drop in the minute and say, oh, my relative thought, my son thought, my sister thought, my grandma thought, my colleagues in the golf course thought, it's a great idea, we'll fly. Meaning all your inputs is not really needed. If my colleagues, who's a business director in a different company, thought this idea would fly, it will fly. That's an internal bias against user experience research. Imagine your project sponsor that is paying you the top dollar to do research is already saying that it doesn't even fly. More like you're just a rubber stamp to just come and stamp whatever they were doing, just and say it's okay, kind of thing. And some would also say this is a very common one, especially from developers, but it could also come from a project sponsor, senior stakeholder, or even your team members, where they'll say, I remember that in most cases, maybe you're the newest person to the team, and then they can always say, oh, we already know the answer. We'll be fine. We already know what the answer is going to be. Don't worry, we know the answer to this thing. Indirectly, all this thing that you're still getting participants, we know the answer, we know what they want. But you cannot, like I always say, you cannot slap a person and say, you know how it feels. You can build something, but it's the user that will know how it feels. You can say, I intended to build it, but how they use it is from the user, which is why user-centered design is one of the greatest inventions or the greatest use for product management and product development now. I hope I've been clear on this, and I would say thank you very much. This is my view, and had to do a few researches, but I'm glad I'm able to deliver this to you. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Welcome to Join Momentum, where we're not just a company, but a community of digital innovators. At Join Momentum, our mission is simple yet powerful: to accelerate digital talents and business productivity through practical work experiences, trainee internships, and talent placement. We believe in the transformative power of hands-on experience and mentorship, so all our associates learn by doing, not just theories. Through these efforts, we build innovative products and solutions that address user needs and create value for our candidates, clients, and stakeholders. You can partner with us in our mission to accelerate digital talents and increase business productivity by working with us, hiring our talents, or investing in us. This is Join Momentum.
Tired of learning job skills from textbooks? Meet Job Simulator AI. We've built the first AI platform that lets you practice real jobs in a safe, virtual environment. It's like a flight simulator, but for careers. Practice real jobs, get real proof, build a portfolio of completed simulations, earn performance badges inspired by industry leaders, showcase verified skills to employers, get instant AI feedback on your progress. For educational institutions, be among the first schools and universities to give your students practical job experience before graduation. Limited early access spots available. For businesses, sponsor industry-specific simulations to showcase your brand. Build a pipeline of practice-ready talent. Connect with candidates who excel in your simulations. Transform employee training and reduce onboarding time. For training providers, add hands-on practice to your existing courses. Differentiate your offering with AI-powered simulations. Give learners verifiable proof of practical skills. Scale your training impact globally. For students and job seekers, stop wondering if you're ready for that dream job. Start practicing it today. Join our early access waitlist. Ready to revolutionize job training? Sign up for early access at www.jobsimulator.ai. The future of work is hands-on. Don't just learn it, leave it.
Join Momentum Learning and Development Squad have rolled out practical work experience simulation programs and scenario-based learning on a new platform called the Growth Academy.
At the Growth Academy, you will engage in real-world simulations and complete scenario-based tasks at your own pace, which are all inspired by global brands.
With consistent practice and support, our participants gain invaluable experiences across multiple disciplines such as product management, data science, project planning, business analysis, virtual assistant, business development, technical sales, cybersecurity, and many more.
The Growth Academy programs come with AI-powered evaluations. You will receive detailed feedback assessment directly to your inbox, guiding your skill development and areas of improvement. You can also showcase your new skills expertise by ordering digital certificates, which are perfect for demonstrating your competency to employers or clients.
You will also become part of a dynamic community of professionals, sharing knowledge and supporting each other on the path to success. And we empower you to step up as a leader, coach, by reselling any of our programs as your own and earn instant income while helping others grow in their careers.
Start your journey today at www.thegrowthacademy.co.uk.